Hello, everyone. You know what is the great thing about speaking at the very last? I can take as much time as I want. No one is waiting for me. Okay, what I want to talk about today is another flavor of Kanban. You've just heard about change management Kanban. This is going to be about portfolio. So I want to talk about why we should be paying attention to what's happening on portfolio level and how applying Kanban can help us to deal with potential issues that are happening up there. You already, whoops, I have my problems as well. It's changing here. It's changing here, but doesn't change there. My stuff is working. Okay, so you already know that my name is Pawel. I work as a CEO and leader of Lunar Logic. Lunar Logic is software shop, Ruby on Rails software shop in Krakow, Poland. So if you have any Ruby on Rails projects, feel free to send them our way. We are also a vendor of Kanbanery, one of online Kanban tools. I write a blog called Software Project Management, where I share a lot of stuff that I'm working on. So if you want to learn more about what I'm speaking about or see what other experiments I'm currently running, I encourage you to visit the blog. And my Twitter handle is Pawel Brodzinski. You will see that there. And I would really appreciate any feedback or comments you may have on this session for me. Let me start with a story, pretty generic story, but for many of you probably pretty familiar as well. So this is a story of a team that started in kind of chaotic environment. So they were following some sort of waterfallish, say, patterns, but they started improving. So they started adopting agile, lean methods. They started understanding how they work. They became more efficient. They became more productive. The quality of their work improved. So that sounds pretty optimistic, right? Well, it is a failure story. It is a failure story because if you think about only a team, it is optimistic indeed. But we should be paying attention to the whole organization. And in this case, the change was local. And as we know from Eli Goldratt, we shouldn't be optimizing only the parts of the system. In fact, if we are optimizing parts of the system, and in this case, a single team was a part of bigger system, a part of organization, we may end up with pretty suboptimal system as a whole. Or as Stephen Parry puts it, if we don't pay attention to what kind of work we are doing, what's happening up there, local optimization will end up with delivering waste more efficiently, cheaper, neater, faster waste. And another guy, John Seddon, who says that if we do the wrong thing, we don't give ourselves a chance to learn. So basically, if we are doing the wrong thing, if the bits of work we are accomplishing are the wrong thing, the only thing we can do is basically do the wrong thing a bit more righter or a bit more faster. But we won't create this opportunity, this space to learn, either on team level or on organizational level. So in this story, the problem was that there was no change, no support for the changes that happened locally on this upper level, on portfolio level. And this is a pretty common issue. When I'm working with different organizations, it's what is happening on portfolio, no one cares about that. We care about improving our teams. This is what's easy. This is what gives us fun. And if we don't pay attention to what's happening there, improvements on team level are not going to save us. And I have a confession to make. I've been managing multiple concurrent projects for more than 8 years already. And it sucks big time. I mean, if you think what kind of decisions we have to make on portfolio level, what project or what product do we start, how we react in different emergency situations, These are important things, right? Because otherwise we are going to work on random things. You probably have heard during this event a lots of time that we should work on the right thing. And if we think about the tools that are to support those decisions, those very important decisions, this is what we have. Something I call Excel frenzy. These humongous Excel sheets. If you're lucky, you have not only that, but you also have a pivot table. The problem is that if you want to find a pattern here, if you want to find a meaningful information in such a tool, it's just not possible. It's like chopping a path in a jungle. And this is all we have. So we basically end up making decisions that are driven by our intuition, kind of gut feeling decisions. Someone said that today, that I can make gut feeling driven decision, but do remember that my guts have shit for brains. Sorry for my French. So the problem is the tools we are using. And if we are using our tools, this kind of tools and our intuition, we are eventually going to end up with just starting too many things. Because we look at projects from a perspective of the attractiveness, from a perspective of potential profit. And you know what? Like, projects we start are intended to be profitable, right? Like, we don't start work that it tended to incur losses on the organization. So we just start too many things because we look through those pink glasses of project's attractiveness. We don't think about kind of overall impact that starting a new project or new product has on the organization. And it doesn't come for free. And we know that. This is Jerry Weinberg. Each concurrent task we start costs us 20% of our time in terms of lost for context switching. And when you think about switching context from one project to the other, from one product to the other, it's even worse. Because we are not talking about changing context from one development task to the other development task, when general context is the same. Same team, same functionality, same code base, same client, same almost everything. It's just a different part of the same project. We are talking about changing the general context completely. Different code base, different issues, different team, different client, everything different. It's even more painful. And I can hear the argument that in fact we are not changing projects like a number of times a day. So maybe it's painful, but it's not that frequent. Well, I have bad news for you. There is something that is called Zeigarnik Effect, which basically tells us that we as humans have this tendency to think about work that we left unfinished. So basically, if I was working on one project and I was pulled to the other one, I will be thinking about the first one, because I left the work there unfinished. And in fact, it has the same thing is told by A.L. Ophir from Stanford University, who spent a lot of time working on multitasking and its effect on our work. Basically, A.L. says that cost of context switching is deeply rooted in us thinking about work we are not actively doing. So no matter how we fool ourselves, thinking that we can focus on a single task, we will be interfering with that work. And we don't even need external distractions. So if I have this email from one of my clients that I have to respond to, I will be thinking about this email, no matter that I'm just about to deliver this presentation. Or in fact, I'm even talking about this email, right? Another thing, you've definitely seen this one. Time to market or concept to production. In the first scenario, we start a project or product, then we switch to the other one, then we switch to the third one, then we switch back to the first one, etc., etc., etc. In the second scenario, we start another thing only when we finish the previous one. Not only the time of finishing the whole work is is faster in the second scenario. But look what happens with time to market. How much faster we can deliver project or product or feature A. How much faster we can deliver value to our users. How much faster we can get feedback. How much faster we can act on this feedback. How much faster we can improve. It's a classic example of positive feedback loop. Another thing, the cost of quality. Again, Eyal Ophir and his team working on connection between multitasking and quality of work. What they did, they ran a simple experiment. So they asked people to accomplish very simple tasks, like recognizing colors or sounds. And they compared how multitaskers and single taskers performed at the task. Well, no surprise, multitaskers were significantly worse. With such simple tasks like recognizing red from green. Like, I don't even want to think what would happen if they told them to write software. And this is another proof for that. I don't know who were yesterday here in this room on Larry Macaroni's session. He was showing the real data from our industry. It's not recognizing colors anymore. It's about building software. And the result he had was that teams that were able to focus on a single project were significantly better in terms of issues density. And because of Larry hadn't yet published results of his research, I cannot tell you that they were 36% better. So you haven't heard that from me. You have to wait for Larry's paper. Another cost, the cost of stress. So what happens when we ask people to work on multiple concurrent projects? A single person. Or when we tell someone to work this week on this project, that week on another, and week after on yet another project. There's a great story from Klaus Leopold. When we were exchanging emails about this session, he shared the story of one of his clients. 25 developers working on 113 projects. More than 4 projects per capita. How happy were they? My bet is that they will totally burn out, or just about to burn out. And when I think about all those problems, when I see all those problems, I cannot help but thinking that we are solving very similar problems on a team level already, and we know how to do that. We visualize work, we limit work in progress. Sounds familiar, right? And this was basically my thinking standing behind trying Kanban on portfolio level. And when you think about trying Kanban on portfolio level, you probably have this picture in your mind. So basically trying out kind of very standard, very common implementation on Kanban on a team level and bringing it up. So exchanging sticky notes that tells you that this is feature or user story or whatever, and well, now they say it's a project or it's a product. Well, that's wrong. In the vast majority of cases, it wouldn't work. And you know why? Because on portfolio level, we are dealing with huge variability. Variability of both in terms of what kind of projects we work on or what kind of products we work on, but more importantly, variability of size. So I find it pretty common that the ratio between the smallest project or smallest product run within the single company and the biggest one is like 1 to 200. The company where I started playing with Portfolio Kanban, smallest project was a single developer, a couple of months. Biggest project, 25 people, a year and a half. Lunar Logic, where I work right now, smallest project, a pair of developers, couple of weeks. Biggest project between 6 to 8 people, 20 months and counting. If we try to translate that to software development tasks, to tasks done on a team level, we would be talking about variability between tasks that we are able to complete in half a day and those that we are able to complete in half a year. We would be talking about square that is so small and so big. It's 200 times bigger. And this root cause means that this one. This one may be interesting for those of you who are interested in Deming's work. Deming says that we should reduce variability as much as possible. Well, I don't agree. I don't agree with that. I don't subscribe to this view. I think that in knowledge work, in our context, we should learn how to absorb variability and not fight it. And huge variability means two problems in terms of this kind of naive approach to Portfolio Kanban. First one is the board gets stalled. So if we have those medium to big things on the board, they're just hanging there for months and months and months. So we eventually stop paying attention. And we stop paying attention, we eventually stop updating the board. And if the board isn't up to date, it doesn't have any value anyway. We can throw it out. And the second problem is even more important, which is given that any single of those projects is now run by 25 people, and when it's done, those 25 people can run, say, a dozen of other projects. What kind of meaningful numbers we can put on this board to limit the number of projects in progress? If you have the answer, I would really love to hear that, because I have no clue. So basically, when we are thinking about Portfolio Kanban, we should be thinking about non-standard board designs as a default. Like a standard board design doesn't really work. And I want to share a few examples of boards, of portfolio boards that I've seen and that worked pretty well. This may work. This is two-tier board that can work if you have some control over variability. So basically, we have swim lanes, and each swim lane is kind of one of major requirements. Say, epic stories, minimum viable products, what have you. And we don't want to have more than 4 of those. So this is one of the ideas. This one would work in an organization that has pretty much, that is in control of variability, pretty much. And they can make all sorts of decisions about their product. So this would work mostly in organizations that are working on a single product and can decide, how they split the whole work to those smaller pieces. It wouldn't really work if you are fighting this huge variability. This is another case, another example. This one is interesting. This one is from the organization where there was non-homogeneous flow for each project. So basically, each project had different stages. So what you see here is each of those big index cards represent a project, and those small sticky notes attached to every project represent flow, project-specific flow for each of those projects. So green sticky represents a stage that is done, yellow sticky represents the stage that is ongoing, and a red sticky represents the stage that is not yet started. Which is interesting, because we have limiting. We can apply limiting work in progress or limiting projects in progress on at least 2 layers here. So one, we can count those small yellow stickies attached to project cards. We have 4 here, which means that our team is working on not more than 4 tasks. Well, let's call them tasks. Another one, we can say that we are working only on 4 projects. Well, we are not working on this one, but it is started. So we can try to limit work in progress on at least 2 layers. And this is the example that I'm working with right now. And I will spend just a bit more time on this. So in this case, we have, in columns, we have timeline. So here, these are months. But you can use weeks or whatever time frame is convenient for you and works for your organization. In the rows, we have teams. Because when we are thinking about portfolio, team is sort of atomic measure. Atomic unit, yeah. Atomic unit to use in terms of limiting work in progress. So what we see here is basically, and what we see inside is basically all sorts of commitments we've made. All sorts of work that is in progress. So if we are in current month right now, this would be all that is happening right now. But we also have another dimension, which is time. Which in terms of planning portfolio, this dimension is very, very important. And we don't see this dimension typically on Kanban board. So what we see here, we see total capabilities. So our teams can chew through only that much of work. And if we try to push more, they're going to choke. We see different capabilities. So one team doesn't equal the other. Teams can be working in different technologies. They can have different subject matter experts, etc., etc. Then we have free capabilities. This one is important, and I will come back to this one later. So basically, with this board design, white space means free capabilities, and those capabilities are changing over time. So we know that right now we can start something small, but if we want to start something big, we have to wait. We see all sorts of commitments. So basically, every single of those stickies represents some kind of work we are going to do. We see concurrent engagements, which is important. We want to pay attention to all those situations because we know that multitasking doesn't come for free. We know that we want to limit as much as possible those kind of situations. We see planned time span of work. So for any project, any product, we can say when exactly we plan to finish. Well, not exactly. When roughly we plan to finish this one. We can have different types of work, like classes of services for projects. Here in this example, yellow stickies mean new projects. Violet stickies mean maintenance project, and red stickies mean kind of emergency situations, so projects that went over deadline. We can see future commitments. So I've seen Olaf Mass and Chris Matt's work mentioned here, real options. They say, don't commit early unless you know why. And sometimes we know why we want to commit early, that we will be working on something later. And here, perfect opportunity to present that. We can show all the planned work, but not yet committed. So for example, in terms of product, we can have here product that we are thinking of. In terms of projects, we can have projects that are in sales funnel. And we can show that not only kind of in one big bucket, we can show that in context of specific teams. So if a specific project requires capabilities that are delivered by only a single team, we can show that project in the context of this very team. We can show unavailabilities. So for example, in Europe, we have those summer months where many people have time off. They go for vacations. For example, in France, it's August. Like no one works in France during August. And we can show that like easily. When we have many people, when many people are out of the office, capabilities of a team or the whole organization is changed. Now, the goal for you, show me all those bits of information here. It's simply not there. So this is why we end up making our guesses instead of informed decisions. And I consider visualization on portfolio level as kind of harvesting low-hanging fruits. So even if we don't go deeper, even if we are not talking about Portfolio Kanban, simple visualization on portfolio level can help us making informed decisions instead of gut-driven decisions. I would, however, advise to go deeper on that. Because the shallow implementation of visualization of portfolio Kanban would be just representing kind of very, very high-level work. For example, a project. And a project can last like 2 years. So if we use only this kind of shallow implementation, we can end up having big design up front, big delivery at the end kind of project. We can start, we can have this huge analysis at the beginning and big delivery at the end. So I would encourage to show what's happening one level deeper, to show value-adding items for the client. So instead of having a single sticky representing a project or a product, to have value-adding items that we are working on. In fact, this is another way of limiting work in progress, because if we have a physical Kanban board, so each of those cells has some physical limits, we can use, for those value-adding items, we can use sticky notes that are big enough that we cannot put more than X of those in a cell, which is kind of pretty much implicit way of limiting the number of different features we start, different epic stories we start, etc., etc. One remark on this one: value adding for us, for company building software, for company running a project, doesn't have to mean value adding for a client. And you should remember that. Because example from my current context, we are working on whatever project our clients want us to work. So for us, value adding means, well, we are working on time and material contracts. So for us, value adding means when we are able to sell the time of our people, because this is how we make money. And also we want to build high quality software so our clients don't come back to us asking us for bug fixes, because, well, it's kind of waste of time on both ends. So for us means, building high quality software that clients pay for. But we can perfectly be working on the wrong thing if product owner on the client side just wouldn't listen that they are building the wrong thing. So this distinction is worth remembering, and sometimes it will be difficult to connect those things: value adding for us and value adding for our client. What about WIP limits then? Like I've already told you that WIP limits was one of huge problems why this naive approach to Portfolio Kanban doesn't really work. Well, let me start here. I've already told you that this one is important, and we will come back to here. So this is where we can see how our free capabilities are changing over time. So whenever we are just about to start a new thing, a new project, a new product, we should start talking where it fits our current free capabilities. And basically, if you visualize your project portfolio or product portfolio and it looks like this, your company is awesome. Because in most cases, this view would be so bloated that the natural answer for a question, can we start working on a new thing, would be no, not a chance. Not today, not tomorrow, not in 3 months, not even a year. Because we are already committed to that many things. So basically, if you have this kind of visualization, you will start saying no, which is a good thing. And I perfectly understand that saying no is not always an option. Sometimes you have this biggest client that comes to you with prestigious project, and you won't say no for that, no matter how little free capabilities you have. But then you start very different discussion. So what can we throw away from here? Or what can we delay so we make the other thing happen? So again, we are talking about saying no. We are talking about limiting the number of stuff we are trying to build at the same time. And this is something, and I credit Klaus Leopold for that, which is called WIP limits by conversation. So instead of having an explicit number or explicit way of limiting number of projects or products we run, instead of saying no more than 6, why 6? No more than 10, why 10? Anytime that we want to start something new, we start discussing whether it fits the current picture of what's happening right now, whether we can afford that. And this is, by the way, where those Excel sheets come handy. Because some numbers that we need in those discussions are here. Expected profit, expected cost, expected effort. We usually have some of those numbers if we manage our project portfolio or product portfolio. So this is where we can use those Excel sheets, but treating them in a different way. It's not a sense-making mechanism anymore. It's just a source of data, which it is, by the way. And when we are talking about different metrics that support those decisions about projects and products, the thing we realize when we switch discussions from looking for reasons why we should start this project or this product to discussion why we shouldn't start building this project or this product, we will find out that we will be looking for different metrics. For example, cost of delay. You've heard about cost of delay here. It was mentioned on many presentations. So how much it costs us when we delay starting this project. And not only value, but also the shape of function of cost of delay, how it is changing over time. And because if we have the situation that we have capabilities to start one project, but we have on our plate we have 3 potential projects, we will have to choose one. And this is one of pretty good metrics to think of. Another one would be assessing risks, both qualitatively and quantitatively. So we want to be able to say which of those projects is more risky, which is less risky, because we may want to make our decision based on, for example, risk. Another thing to remember is the transaction cost of starting project. Another thing we should remember. It's not that starting a project and then stopping it in the middle or at the end comes for free. No, there is transaction cost attached to starting a new thing. We have to gather a team. We have to talk with the client. We have to kick off the project. So we are thinking about different metrics here as well. And it happens because Portfolio Kanban isn't about choosing what bits of work we are going to do. Portfolio Kanban is about choosing what bits of work we are not going to do. It's changing the discussion, which means the discussion itself looks differently. Instead of looking from a perspective of project or product attractiveness, instead of looking from perspective of potential profit, we are looking from a perspective of holistic impact of starting this thing on the organization. We are looking from a perspective of capabilities. We are looking from a perspective of costs. We are looking from a perspective of multitasking that we will have to introduce if we want to start just too many things. This one is from Todd Little, who had a session yesterday. He was bringing the example of poker players. The best poker players, those guys who win like loads and loads of money, are doing that not because they play many games. They choose the right games to play. And exactly the same thing is true when we are managing portfolio. It's not about how many products or projects we start. It's about choosing the right products or projects we build. Okay, so what are the outcomes of introducing Portfolio Kanban into the organization? One is about metrics. So we have cost of delay. We have risk assessment. And I'm not going into the details because each of those subjects deserves not a single presentation, but the whole track. But we should start thinking in these terms. We have also transaction costs attached to projects. We start thinking about different metrics we should pay attention to. Obviously we have fewer projects. We start saying no. By the way, we usually have to learn how to say no first. But we have fewer projects, so we pay lower price for multitasking. We pay lower price for context switching. We don't introduce that much stress. It has very, very positive impact on many areas of our organizations. We reduce the number of emergencies. Typical case, whenever we have an emergency, what happens? One of those, like the project went totally over time and totally over budget. What happens? We pull people from different places of organization to save that. What we really do is we start emergencies there and there, everywhere where we pulled people from, because, well, those projects are now suddenly understaffed. It will kick us in our butt pretty soon. So the fewer projects we have, the more manageable the situation is. And I will share one more idea how to use Portfolio Kanban to improve the impact of emergencies in the organization. Another thing is healthier work environment. Fewer situations when we expect people to work on few different things at the same time. Fewer situations where people don't know which project they will be working on in a couple of weeks because we are throwing them here and there and somewhere else. And finally, my favorite, which is team-level slack time. Everyone is familiar with the concept of slack time? Okay, so what happens when we start limiting the number of projects is that eventually we will face this situation when we have a team or part of the team that is free right now, but we don't have any specific piece of work that they would be able to start. So basically, we have team-level slack time. So one thing they can do is whenever we have this emergency situation, we can pull those guys to help with that, because well, they are not working on any value-adding work, and we know that because they have slack time. So this is basically dealing with emergencies in a way that harms organization, our company, in the least possible way. But you can use slack time even better. One thing is we can let them figure out what they can do, how they can help. One thing we already have is this visualization that basically tells every single team manager where they can help. Second thing is learning. I'm yet to meet an organization where there is no one who complains that there is too little time to learn within their work time. Here's the perfect opportunity. And finally, they can use slack time to improve the way they work on a team level. Because the nice thing about this kind of change, so starting on portfolio level, is that if you start limiting number of projects or products you do on portfolio level, you will generate team-level slack time. So chances are good that teams will start improving as well. So improvement on the top will yield improvements down there. It doesn't work the other way around. If you start improving on a team level, it doesn't mean that you will improve on portfolio level as well. So problems on portfolio level are problems that we tend to ignore for many reasons. It's not our area of responsibility. We don't know that we have those problems. We don't know how to deal with them. So usually when we think about portfolio, this is something we don't want to hear about, you don't want to look at, we don't want to talk about. We pretend the elephant is not in the room. But I consider Portfolio Kanban kind of a low-friction tool that can help us address those problems. Because Portfolio Kanban is pretty similarly to Kanban on a team level, is a tool that doesn't require us to change on the day one. So basically, if we can start with simple visualization, it doesn't change the way we manage portfolio. And unlike Kanban on a team level, you don't even need to have the whole team buy-in. So you don't even need to have buy-in from the whole PMO, which may be pretty difficult. It's enough to have a single person that starts with visualization. Because visualization on this level will deliver so much information that people will very quickly start signing up for that. So you will see more and more people using this visualization. And if you achieve this critical mass of people working with Portfolio Kanban board, you can start working on WIP limits by conversation. And this is exactly where you want to be, because this is where the real change starts. So I consider Portfolio Kanban kind of disruptive weapon that we can use against status quo on portfolio level, or also a way to start evolving how we work on portfolio level, which should result in terms of organizational efficiency. I know that I've just scratched the surface of portfolio Kanban. As I mentioned in the middle of presentation, there are subjects that are worth, not a session, but a whole day of discussions, like cost of delay, like metrics in general, visualization. We are not going to have simple recipes for that. But if you want to talk with me about that more, I'm here tonight, and I'm always glad to talk about it. You can catch me either here or wherever else. If not, visit my blog and drop me an email or leave a comment. Thank you very much.